Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing a quarterly update, a little check-in with what's been going on over the past 3 months. I'm going to talk about what I've been reading, eating, how our financial goals are doing, some business and life updates, and looking ahead for how I want to feel and things that I hope for the next quarter of this year. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee, and I use this channel to talk about intentional living and what that looks like for me. So whether you're here for some practical ideas to add intentionality into your own life or to reflect alongside me, I'm really glad that you're here. Let's jump in. Welcome. I hope you had a great start to your 2025 in the first 3 months of the year. I always wanted to be a person that did a quarterly audit of my life. And I haven't been that person because a lot of people do that through journaling, and I'm not a journaler, okay? I try to, and sometimes I succeed, but it's never very consistent. But I do enjoy talking. So I think this is going to help me be accountable in looking back and even having a log for myself of the things that I learned, the things that I was feeling, the things that I was doing at various points throughout my life, but also the year. So while I reflected on some of these things in the past, I didn't do it in a way that cataloged it for myself, and I didn't do it in a way that I could look back on year to year, even to see how different seasons over the course of my life have gone. So I'm excited to do that today. I have a rough guideline of how I would like to proceed and what topics I would like to cover in this reflection. I'm really excited to talk about the books that I've read, and I'm excited to give kind of a brief overview of our financial goals, and you'll see that a little bit later in the video. But I also wanted to do just a little bit of verbal reflecting on different topics. So I want to do a couple of easy ones to start, maybe some not heavy, but heavier topics in the middle, and then close out with some lighter topics before we head over into financial updates. A couple of games that I played in the first 3 months of the year that I've been excited about. One is a card game. It's called Monopoly Deal. We were gifted it for Christmas from someone that we have played that game with before because they own the game and they gifted it to us at Christmas. And we love playing that with my sister. Her favorite card in the game is Just Say No. And that is what she calls the game, is just no. So that's been really fun to play with each other, but also to watch my sister kind of learn a new game and learn some new skills through that game. That's number one. Another game that I have been playing is called Bug Snacks. It's on Switch and probably Steam, and I don't know about any other platforms, but I've been playing it on the Switch, and it is so fun. Some of the mechanics have been a little bit hard to figure out based on how other games that I really like to play work, but it is very fun. It's got a very intricate story that I was not expecting for kind of the premise of the game. I've been enjoying that, and I have also been playing a lot of Disney Dreamlight Valley. They came out with a new update recently and added Aladdin and Jasmine into the cast of characters that you can befriend. I haven't done that yet because I'm working on some other things, but I have enjoyed going back into that game. That's a game that I like to spend a lot of time in and then go away from for a while and then come back to. So right now I'm back to it, but I feel the itch to jump into Stardew Valley because I haven't yet played the update and I really want to. But I also want to stream it or to record it because I adore this game. I have put over 300 hours into this game in previous farms, probably close to 400 now because I also have a joint farm with my husband. But yeah, I really love Stardew Valley. I'm getting the farming itch to play. We had some really good meals over the course of the past 3 months. We also had some very thrown together meals. One of my favorites though that is actually a throw together meal is the knife cut squiggle noodles from Trader Joe's. It's like a packet of noodles with like a sesame and garlic oil sauce to put on top of it. I like to make those noodles, put the sauce on top of it, add a little soy sauce, add a little chili and garlic crunch oil to it, put a fried egg on top of it, and then sprinkle some fried onions on top of that. It is so good. I have also made it with sauteing up some like mushrooms and peppers and onions if I have them and I need to use them up. It's kind of like, a packet of ramen that you spice up, but I really like the sauce that goes with these specific noodles more than I like a packet of ramen. Also, the way that we've been buying groceries over the past 3 months has worked out really well. Buying ingredients versus buying things specifically for specific meals, unless I was meal prepping those items. The reason that I like doing that is because it's very easy for me to open my cabinet, to open my pantry and see exactly what I have and then come up with a meal to make. I really enjoy cooking. I really enjoy finding ways to blend flavors together and find what goes really well together. So that's fun for me. I definitely have some meals each month or each week that I know what I'll be making just because it helps take some of the guesswork out of it for me. But I also really find that I am more excited to cook when I'm able to be creative in my cooking, if that makes sense. So that's been working really well. All right. Let's talk about how I felt over the past 3 months. I think I probably ran through every emotion on the spectrum. Through the course of the past 3 months, there were definitely some high highs and there were definitely some low lows. Some of them were kind of captured in video form. I mean, I didn't show up in a full-on anxiety spiral, but there were full-on anxiety spirals. I also didn't show up when I was at the height of my feels, in a really joyous and excited place. But I do think that I ran the full gambit on feelings. If I had to pick one feeling word to describe the past 3 months, I'm actually going to pull up my emotion sensation wheel. So I think I've said it before in videos that I have my master's degree in counseling. And so I utilize a lot of therapeutic approaches to the work that I do with my individual and couples clients. And I use that a lot with myself. So if you have never heard of a feeling wheel, I'm going to pop up a picture here. This is really great if you have trouble connecting to your own emotions or you have trouble labeling them. But I'm going to do you one better, and I'm going to put up here on the screen an emotion sensation wheel. It starts with the base emotions: fear, anger, disgust, sad, happy, and surprise. And then it goes out to some additional feelings, feeling words, but then it branches out again into different sensations you might feel in your body when you are experiencing those emotions. And that's what I'm going to look at really quickly for myself to determine what base emotion or secondary emotion I want to kind of label the last 3 months with. You're welcome for the little bit of informational, educational content in the midst of this update. I've consulted my emotion sensation wheel, and I think I have 2 that I want to kind of label because in reading the sensations associated with different feelings, there was definitely a lot of sensation in the sad category. And I don't think I would have called it sad. I think that I would label it grief. There's a lot going on in my personal life that I'm not going to get into right now that has to do with different family members and just a feeling of heaviness that I think trickled over into different areas of my financial life and my just kind of my day to day, that grief was definitely a big feeling that I can't ignore. I would like to just say happy and move on. And that's not true though. Grief was a big, big component of the last 3 months, and I anticipate it being a component of the foreseeable future, if I'm honest. But I think it's inauthentic to not bring that up. And what I mean by it trickled over into different areas of my life, and I say financial specifically, because financial is something that I feel like I can control. Listen, I am a firstborn, oldest daughter, oldest granddaughter on both sides of my family, and I like feeling in control, okay? And there are a lot of things going on in the world and my life that I can't control right now. And so a coping mechanism for me is latching on to the things that I feel like I can control. It's not always healthy to do so, but it's where I found myself a lot of times these past 3 months. And so my finances specifically is something that I like to really crunch the numbers and see how good we can do with our budget and see where we can hold back and see where we can be really aggressive. And so that's what I mean by it trickles over, because there's so much existing in my life and our world that is completely out of our control. But we do have things that we can control, and I definitely seek those things out. So that's the trickle effect. Curious is another word that I would like to use. The reason that I chose this is some of the sensations are brow furrowing, and I was literally furrowing my brow when I was reading this list. Feeling soft, calm, steady, open, awake, and I definitely think that those things have all existed alongside any grief that I have felt. And curiosity feels encompassing of that, because I'm very curious of how the next couple of months are going. I'm very curious to see how my business evolves over the next year. I'm very curious to see how some of these factors in my personal life are going to shake out. And it's like a spark of light in the midst of any grief that I've been feeling. And I really like that word. And I really like to be curious. I like to be open. I like to be awake, and not just physically awake, but like awakened to new ideas and new concepts and new people and all of those things. So curious and grief are the two words that I would use to kind of encompass the last 3 months as far as feeling goes. I want to talk about things that went well and things that didn't go well. What went well was starting YouTube. This is something that I have talked about since I was really young. I mean, really when YouTube took off 10 or 15 years ago, even before that. I remember using my iPad to record videos of myself, and I never posted any of them. And I hate that I didn't, I hate that I felt like I shouldn't take up space in the YouTube world at that time. And it's something that, again, I have revisited multiple times. Even just in the 5 years of being married, I've brought it up to my husband a number of times because, again, he edits audio and video really well, and that's something that I don't do well. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we should do this thing, because now I have someone who can kind of fill the gaps where I feel like I'm not as equipped. I'm really proud. I'm really proud that I'm here. I have zero expectations for this. There could be 20 people that watch this. There could be 20,000 people. There could be 200,000. And I will be happy no matter the amount, because I'm just really proud of myself for stepping out there and putting myself on the internet in this way. I'm not really on any other social platforms. I have them. I just don't post to them very often or hop on them very often. But YouTube feels like a place I can show up the most authentically, because it's literally my voice that you're hearing, and it's my life that I'm sharing. So I'm glad you're here. I'm happy to be here, and it's going really well. I think what's not going really well in that realm is my husband's in the final semester of his grad degree, and so his schedule is just really busy right now. So we were trying to stick to a really specific schedule of posting, and that has gotten a little floppy, but I don't care, because we're still posting consistently at least once a week, and right now that is the goal. One area, and I've already talked about it in a budget video, and I'll probably mention it in my financial update, that didn't go well was paying a large sum of money every month on my husband's undergrad loans that we're paying off right now. The reason that didn't go well is just because of how stressed we've been about money, how stressed I've been specifically about money. And I wish that we had had access to that money instead of it just being gone come, the second or third of the month. And so the way that we're pivoting is in the next quarter, we're going to see how it goes of putting the money that we intend to pay on the undergrad loans into a special savings account. And then at the end of 3 months, paying that large sum of money that's existing in the savings account, just so we have a little bit of a fail safe if anything were to crop up and we would need to reallocate some finances for that. And the reason that we're able to do that is because his loans are in deferment right now, so they're not accruing interest. If they were accruing interest, I would probably just try and not pay as much per month and shift, the amount we were paying versus when we were paying it. Something that didn't go well is something to do with my personal business. I have been in a little bit of a slump when it comes to marketing myself well to my ideal client. And I have a couple of really fun projects coming up, one in collaboration with a friend of mine and one that I'm kind of launching on my own, but neither of them are for my ideal client. So I'm hoping in the next quarter that I can shift my focus a little bit more to that ideal client and make sure that I am doing everything in my power to market myself well and get connected to my ideal client in that regard. Social life is going really well. We've spent a lot of time with people that we really love, and the only thing that's not going well is feeling a little bit more limited in our budget and trying to find ways that we can connect with our people for free or for less expense than we're used to. But even with trying to do that, we've still done a really great job, and we have still stayed in contact with the people that we love, made plans with them, even if they're future plans or if they are more relaxed plans than we typically have had with them. So thanks for sticking with me for those topics. For the last kind of wrap up, looking at the past 3 months, I want to share some of the things that I watched that I feel really good about. Or actually that I didn't feel really good about, to be honest. We hadn't watched The Bear season 3 yet, and we watched that in March, I believe. I don't even know if we finished it, and we probably will get around to finishing it, but it is not what I anticipated it to be based on season 1 and season 2. Season 1 is incredible. Season 2 is good. It was definitely more stressful to watch than season 1. And season 3, there have been episodes that I have said, oh my gosh, we have to mute this because the screaming and the music and the intensity, I feel all of that. Like I feel it. And I was like, we have to watch this on mute with subtitles because I can't deal with the intensity and the anxiety that induces in me to watch. So that's been a bummer because I do really like that show. I do really love that cast. So I'm hoping season 4 comes with some more plot, some more time with the people that I like. Yeah, a different focus maybe for season 4. Something else that we watched that we have loved is Severance season 2. Oh my, I've been waiting so long for Severance season 2, okay? So long. I watched Severance when it came out. 3 years ago? 3 years ago? 4? So long we've been waiting. And then I thought like, okay, surely we'll be getting season 2 soon. So a year and a half ago or so, I introduced my husband to it because he didn't watch it with me the first time around. He loved it. And then I was like, all right, season 2, where are you at? And it took forever, but it happened. We watched it. It was fan-freaking-tastic. Love Severance. Ben Stiller has got a weird brain, for sure, but I'm loving every second of it. Every second of it. Let's talk about our finances. First, I want to say If you are new to the channel, you can go back and watch some videos that I have uploaded over the past 3 months with a budget update from each month and a budgeting for the upcoming month. I talk all about our percentages for each category as well as real numbers for each category so that you can see how we budget and if we were successful or not successful in each budgeting category for each month. Because those videos exist, I'm going to be a little bit more brief in this update, including some reflections over the quarter itself and a couple of numbers to kind of catch you up to where we are now for this first quarter of 2025. The first question that I want to reflect on, and really the biggest question that I want to reflect on, is did our spending align with our goals? And looking at the quarter, I think yes, our spending absolutely aligned with our goals. I think we were incredibly intentional with our spending. Even some of our red light purchases, which might seem like a surprise to you because they're considered red light purchases, but they helped us move towards another goal for intentional living that we have. It just wasn't necessarily budgeted for the month that it was spent in. For instance, I was gifted sourdough starter at the beginning of March. And to do that well, I purchased a couple of things, a scale and like a sourdough baking kit from Facebook Marketplace. And those were red light purchases because they weren't completely necessary and they weren't budgeted for in the month that I purchased them. However, they have been a game changer for me in successfully baking with my sourdough starter and in helping me be successful towards making even more from scratch, which is in full alignment with how I want to live an intentional life and what I want that life to look like. So while for the month it wasn't aligned with the planned for budget, the spending is still in alignment with our overarching goals for the year. And I think that that's something important to consider when you're doing monthly reflections and quarterly reflections. And it's why I wanted, even if I didn't start this channel, I wanted to look at our finances on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, at the 6-month mark, and at the end of the year, because it just gives me a lot more appreciation for how we are spending our money. Currently, that's the feeling. I think last year it would have given me a little bit of a wake-up call for needing to potentially spend less or to budget differently in some areas. But this month it is showing me how aligned we are in the way that we're showing up with our finances every day to the goals that we have financially and as a couple for the rest of the year. Which is really the most important part, right? That the way that you're managing and spending your money is in alignment with how you want to feel and where you want to be by the end of the year. So I'm really, really proud of us for this first quarter. There were definitely some hard times. There were definitely some anxious nights crunching numbers. And if you want to hear more about that, definitely go and check the monthly update videos. But one thing that I wanted to look at was the number of red light purchases over the first quarter and the total amount of those purchases. So the number of red light purchases was 13, which to me was a little shocking. Shocking is a big word. A little surprising. Then I saw the total amount that those cost and I felt a lot better. The total amount for the red light purchases was $298.20. That is average about $22 per item, even though some of those items were much more than $22. Some of those purchases were way less than $22. But that's a pretty good place to be over 3 months to have not spent more than $100 on average per month. If I hadn't tracked those purchases each month and known what they were, seeing 13 purchases in the red light category and seeing nearly $300 could have potentially caused me to completely freak out. But because I know what those purchases were, when they happened, and why a lot of them happened, I'm pretty settled with that number. And the last kind of area that I wanted to reflect on from the quarter and what I really wish that I did last year was to look at current savings or overspending. That's by looking at our total income for the first 3 months and our total expenses for the first 3 months to see if we had savings or if we're in the hole so far this year. So far this year, this was not surprising to me. We are in the hole. We're at negative $964.67. I anticipated that. I'm not worried by that number. I think we will easily make that up in the next month or two and get that to a positive number going into quarter two. But right now, that's where we're at. And the reason that I say that that doesn't freak me out is because I'm not going to make any huge adjustments or take a lot of money off of our budgeted amounts or anything like that, because I know that even if we spend exactly what we've budgeted for the month of April, for instance, we still should make enough that that number will come close to breaking even or even go back into the positive amount. One thing that I've been really proud of myself and of us over the first quarter of this year is not setting ourselves up for failure in our different budgeting categories. So instead of trying to be super strict and only budgeting like $150 for groceries, when that's not realistic, it's more realistic to budget $350, to actually do that and even give a buffer to each category, because you have a physiological response, a dopamine or a stress hormonal response to seeing certain things when it comes to your finances. So for instance, if we put our grocery budget at $150, but we spent $200, to see negative $100 is going to cause a really negative reaction in you. Whereas if you budget $400, but you only spend $350, to see a balance or a savings of $50 is a lot more rewarding to your brain to see that and think more positively about your finances. So setting ourselves up for success in each of our budgeting categories is a huge component of us staying on track for our financial goals. And that's something that I want to make sure that I carry over into the next quarter. I have a couple of other goals for the next quarter. One is to pay off our car. We should hopefully do that by the end of June. If not, the very beginning of July, our car will be completely paid off. And then I hope that we're able to put at least $2,000, hopefully more, but at least $2,000. I'm trying to set myself up for success. Put at least $2,000 towards my husband's undergrad loans that we are still paying off. And those are kind of the goals for the next quarter. I feel really good about where we are so far this year, and kind of am really excited to come back in 3 more months and check in again on these quarterly numbers and goals. Let's talk about books. Okay, I read a lot of books in the first 3 months of the year. I read 20 books. What I want to do, so that this portion is not super long, in case those of you watching don't care as much about book content, I'm going to say the name of the book, the author, the number of stars that I gave the book, and just a couple of words or thoughts about each book so that we can kind of roll through this fairly quickly. Let's jump in. So the first two I'm going to say together because I tandem read them, meaning I found a guide online on which chapters to read when, because both of these books follow the same storyline. It's just different characters and focus. Those books are Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, part of the Throne of Glass series. I rated Empire of Storms 5 stars and Tower of Dawn 4 stars. I will say tandem reading is the way to go with these two books. The first time I read them in publication order. And I'm pretty sure I was reading them as they were being published. But I read them in publication order, and I actually rated Tower of Dawn the first time I read it 3 stars, but I bumped it up to 4 stars when I tandem read it, and I think that made all the difference in the world. And those books are by Sarah J. Maas. Then I read All Systems Red by Martha Wells, which is following a robot called Murderbot, and I adore these. I have read quite a few in the series now, and I'm continuing to read through the rest of them, and hopefully we'll finish it because I can't wait to see what else Murderbot gets up to, but I also never want this series to end because it is a joy to read. All Systems Red got 4 stars from me. Compulsory, which is also by Martha Wells, got 4 stars too. That is a short story, kind of prequel to All Systems Red. Then I read The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and this got 2 stars from me. I know, probably a hot take if you are at all in the book talk, bookstagram, or YouTube booktuber space. People adore this book. I did not like it. It was incredibly juvenile writing to me, and there are some books that I read later that had the feeling that I hoped to get out of The Spell Shop that it just didn't deliver. Then I read Last Call at the Local by Sarah Grunder Ruiz. Last Call at the Local got 4 stars from me. It takes place in Ireland. The Local is a bar in this little town in Ireland. I loved it. I loved it. This author also does a really great job of writing about OCD and ADHD and kind of the ways that those manifest in our relationships, both to ourselves and with other people. Artificial Condition is another one of the Murderbot series by Martha Wells, and this one got 4 stars from me. I could just keep saying it, and I might just keep saying it, but I love this. I love this series. Read it. The next read was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This got 4 stars from me. It's by Heather Fawcett, and I adored this book. I adored the whole trilogy. I've finished all of them. These are the books that gave me the feeling that I hoped to feel when I read The Spell Shop. And I adore Wendell. I adore Emily. I adore all of the little creatures and fairies that they find along the way. Highly recommend this trilogy, but we'll talk about the other 2 in a minute. Then we have Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Another hot take, 2 stars. This was a completely unnecessary book. This series could have been wrapped up very easily in the 3rd book, and she decided not to do that, and it felt that way. The next book that I read was What You Are Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Aoyama. This was a 3-star read for me. I think there's some elements that if they were there or if some other elements were missing, it would have bumped it to 4 stars, but it was a 3-star read for me. Then I listened to Waypoints by Sam Heughan. It's Waypoints, My Scottish Journey, I think. I gave this 5 stars. Highly recommend the audiobook as Sam recorded himself along the, I forget what the trail is that he walked. I think it's the Highland Way, the North Highland Way, something like that. But he recorded himself on different parts of that, and you hear that audio when you're listening to the audiobook. So I highly recommend the audiobook. Then I read Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I listened to this book, but I think that I would have benefited from reading it physically just because the story is so unique and original that it was a little hard to follow if I had to pause the audiobook and come back to it later. Whereas if I had the physical book, it would have been easy to go and read a couple of lines and catch back up to what I was reading. But I did enjoy it, gave it 3 stars, and definitely want to read more by this author. The next book I read was the second in the Emily Wilde trilogy. This is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I gave it 4 stars. Again, a very whimsical, fun ride with her and Wendell. Then I read Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. 5 stars. 5 stars. Read it. It's so good, so well written. Some very hard topics covered for sure, but absolutely loved this book. Then I read Rogue Protocol by Martha Wells, which is another in the Murderbot series. Loved it. Gave it 5 stars. Then I read Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and I gave it 3 stars. I think I would have rated it higher if I had read it back in 2022 or 2023. There's a lot of focus on what essentialism looks like in the corporate space and how to get a balance between your work and your home. And I feel like since leaving my job in 2023, I've done that. But I do think that this would have been helpful had I read it before I left my job, and I think it actually would have sped up the process in me leaving my job, if I'm honest. Then I listened to Peace is Every Step by Thich Nhat Hanh, and I gave this 4 stars. I liked it. I think that there are parts of this book that will resonate deeply. I think I was crying within the first 3 minutes of listening to this book, and then progressively got a little uncomfortable with some of the topics and recognized that those were areas that I needed to dig deeper into in myself versus things that he was saying that I disagreed with. It was more just recognizing that I have some topics to give a little bit more space to and attention to. Then I read I've Got Questions by Erin Hicks Moon. Really enjoyed this. 4 stars. If you ever have or currently are in a religious space or on a religious journey, I would highly recommend reading her book. Then I read the final installment of the Emily Wilde's trilogy, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, again by Heather Fawcett. I gave this one 4 stars as well. It was a lovely conclusion. And finally, I read Margot's Got Money Troubles by Rufi Thorpe. I gave this one 4 stars too. I really enjoyed this. I read it quickly over 2 days, and I had to work both of those days. So I read it very quickly, and it was such an interesting read. I recommend it. A couple of things that I wanted to update on from my 2025 reading goals video is the Foxtail Bookshop, the local bookstore in Woodstock, Georgia, that has a reading challenge going on this year that I'm choosing to kind of help guide some of my reading each month. So the first month was to read from a new genre, and that was starting the Murderbot series by Martha Wells. I have not read a lot of sci-fi, and so this was kind of my first jaunt into true sci-fi. We are in space, we are dealing with alternate planets and space stations, so a little check mark on that one. The second month, for February, I think it was to read a historical fiction from one of your favorite eras, and I did not do that. I had a book planned. It's on my bookshelf, and I just didn't get to it, so I will definitely check this off for the year, but I didn't check it off for February. And the last one was to read a book that came out the year you were born, and that was Peace is Every Step by Thich Nhat Hanh, which was already on my list, and when I looked up books published in 1992, I saw that that was on there and immediately downloaded it from the library. You might have noticed all of the pictures are on the screen, and I am not holding any books. That is because all of them were digital books, and only 2 of them were digital books that I own. The rest of them were all borrowed from the library. So I love that from the perspective of I read 20 books and 18 of them I did not purchase, but I don't love that from the perspective of I have so many physical books that I am trying to read this year, and I did not read any of them in the first 3 months. So we definitely need to pay more attention to that for the rest of the year. So now that we've talked about how we felt over the past 3 months, some things that we did, watched, what went well, what didn't go well, financial updates, and book updates, I want to talk about the next 3 months, April, May, and June. What am I excited for? What am I hopeful for? What do I want to feel? Any intentions or goals that I have along the way? My intention is to keep posting once a week to YouTube. I have really until July planned out from a content perspective of what I really hope to post. If you were watching this video, or if you've watched any previous videos and you have any ideas or you have something that you would like to see from me, please let me know in the comments down below, because I want to keep doing this, and I want it to be something that someone feels connected to, even if it's just one person. So I would love to hear any ideas that you might have, but that is definitely a big intention and goal I want to have 52 videos at least by the end of this year. So fingers crossed, we keep making that happen. How do I want to feel? I'm going to look at my emotion sensation wheel again and pick out some of the words that I feel drawn to, and also knowing that if I get to the end of the 3 months and I haven't felt that way, that it's okay. It's okay. So I want to feel stability. I want to feel stable and secure. I'd like to keep this curious thing going. I think curiosity, even though curiosity killed the cat, I think there's a way to be safe and curious. I think there's a way to be safe and curious. I really like seeing awe and surprise. I would like to feel a little bit of that, even if it's not a theme for the whole 3 months, that in those 3 months I would feel that. And I think that we have some plans coming up that would allow for that to happen naturally. Satisfied is a really good word. Peaceful. So I think awe and excitement, curiosity, stable, and peaceful are kind of the things that I'm hoping to feel. Now, I know that I will probably feel mad, and I'll probably feel anxious, and I will probably feel confused and scared and insecure and unstable. And I might feel grief again and sad and depressed, and that's okay. But I hope that there are moments, that there are blips of joy and security and peace and awe and excitement, because they matter. Those blips matter. And I have to remind myself of that. And I hope this is a little bit of a reminder to you too, that even if you feel some of those more heavy emotions, you have to remember that there had to have been blips of joy and happiness and awe and excitement and peace. Okay? That's how I hope to feel over the next 3 months. What am I excited for? I'm excited to travel. I'm excited to travel. We haven't traveled at all this year, other than like to the grocery store. That's not true. We've gone further than the grocery store, but we have not left the state of Georgia, and I need to leave the state of Georgia. I also need to leave the country of America, which I will be doing in May. So I'm very excited to go to the Netherlands in May for a week, 2 weeks, a little over a week, I think. I wish I could be going there forever or for a much more prolonged amount of time, but I'm also hoping that that's not the only time this year that we get to go. Anyways, we're going in May. I'm very excited. We're going to the beach in June. I cannot wait. Being next to the water is therapeutic for me. It is healing for me. And I have not been by an ocean in a very long time. August of last year? I don't know. It's been too long. I need to go sit by an ocean. Literally, vacation at the beach in Florida, specifically for me, is taking a chair and an umbrella and a towel, planting myself at 8 a.m. on the beach and not leaving until 8 p.m. I want to read. I want to dip my toes in the water. I want to jump on some waves. I want to lay in the sand. I want to read my book. And that's what I want to do for 7 days. And that's what I get to do in 7 days, for 7 days in June. So very much looking forward to travel. Also, my husband turns 30 in April, and I'm very excited to celebrate him really well and to incorporate some of our friends into that celebration. Very excited about that. Like I said earlier, I'm excited to shift some things in my business, see how that goes, do some things that feel really aligned with what I want my life to look like and what I want my work to look like. And I'm in a position that I get to choose that. And I'm very grateful for that choice. And I hope to put in some really good effort into making that happen over the next 3 months to set myself up well for the remainder of the year. I'm excited to keep connecting with friends in new ways, spend some more time outside, take my dog to the dog park. Try not to say that too loud so I don't wake him up from wherever he is sleeping. Yeah, spend some more time outside, spend some time on the lake with friends, and just in general kind of shift to being outside more, being a little bit more social. I'll be honest, I don't love spring. I don't love summer. I love fall and I love winter. So I have to do a lot more pushing myself to get outside when it comes to spring and summer. Also, it's so hot. It's so hot in Georgia, okay? It's unbearably hot. Plus the pollen during the spring, it's a nightmare. So I'm hopeful that pollen season will start to die down. And even though the temperatures will be high, we are at an apartment complex that has a pool and we're very close to the pool. So I'm hoping that we're able to spend some time by the pool on the weekends, even if we're just sitting out there reading for a couple of hours to get some vitamin D and continue prioritizing our well-being, mental and physical, in the coming months. And I think above all else, I just want to be gentle with myself. I want to be intentional with myself when that comes to nutrition, when that comes to physical activity, when it comes to what I read and what I watch. I am really looking forward to some movies that are coming out in June. I'm really looking forward to some books that are coming out in the next 3 months. I also really want to tackle probably like 5 or 6 books for my physical TBR. Yeah, probably like 5 or 6 books for my physical TBR over the next 3 months, because your girl needs to read the books that she bought. But I just keep checking books out from the library and it keeps me from reading the books that I have. It's fine. We'll figure it out. So I don't know if that is a helpful way to look ahead at the next 3 months, or if that was a helpful way to look back on the past 3 months. But for me, this is how I like to audit my life, and I liked doing it in this style. I hope you take some intentional time to look at the past 3 months and look forward at the next 3 months, just to see if you're happy with how things went, if you'd like to change some things going into the next 3 months. Let me know. One final takeaway from me is that I want to make sure that I am looking at everything in my life through multiple lenses and from multiple angles, because when we see something one way, it can make me feel stuck, or it can make me feel anxious, or it can make me blind to all of the other opportunity and availability there is to me outside of this viewpoint. So I want to make sure that when it comes to even switching my clothes over and decluttering my items, when it comes to looking at my finances, when it comes to finding books I want to read, very simple things, but also very hard things too, when it comes to looking at my business approach, when it comes to looking at my emotional health and well-being, I want to make sure that I'm shifting the viewpoint that I'm taking when addressing these things. And that's been a huge learning point for me in multiple areas of my life over the past quarter. And I'm really excited to see where this year continues to go, because despite everything that's going on outside my little home, inside my home, I feel really good about what the future holds. And inside my home is where I need to create that safe space for me. And I am proud of myself for doing that. And I hope you'll do it too. So I'm going to sign off here. That was a lot. And yeah, until next time.